Hey up, I dare say Starcraft here. I'm going to be casting a 1 versus 1 game between Huck here, the little woodland creature that he is. Every day is a party for him. And he's going up against ZvP Idra, who I just so happen to think is a massive wanker. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a good game. In the previous games I've seen between Huck and Idra, it seems like Idra doesn't have a whole lot of respect for Huck. So we'll see what's going to happen there. Now about this matchup, the rush distances between these two players is quite far. Usually these kinds of situations results in a longer macro game, which to me is a little bit more interesting. I don't like to see games that are 5 or 6 minutes long. They're over before they started. And it looks like we've got Huck here, moving across the map. Trying to figure out where the Idra's in this base or this one. He doesn't scout this one because you never spawn like this. It's actually how the map is. You never have opponents and these two bases or these two bases. You're either diagonally across from each other or adjacent side by side like this. So now that Huck sees that Idra's not here, he's going to make his way to Idra's actual base and poke around, see what's happening. Looks like Idra's got down an early geyser and a spawning pool before his hatchery. And that's a little weird to me. With rush distances this far, you're pretty safe to put down a fast hatchery, and by the time the Protoss has enough units to really harass your hatchery and take it down, you're safe to protect it with Zerglings since they build quite quickly. But now he's given Huck an opportunity to block the expansion. He's going to put the probe there. He might even lay some buildings down, which Idra have to clean out to be able to put the hatchery down. I imagine Idra's going to try and take this expansion. Be bitterly disappointed that there's a probe blocking it. No, actually that one's going out to scout. Doesn't have the resources yet. And he wants, apparently, to get the queen first. Now, Huck's going to try and block this expansion. That's good there, putting down a pylon. It's going to cause Idra to take some probes off the line to clear it out, which costs him mining time. Or he's going to force him to make some early Zerglings. And lava that you used to make Zerglings could have been making drones. So whatever the case, Huck's going to be doing a little bit of economic damage. And it's really only going to cost him 25% of the buildings that he put down. When you cancel a building, you lose 25% of the initial investment, but you get the rest back. So it looks like Huck put down 3 pylons and cancelled them. So it cost him 75 minerals, but it delayed the expansion for about 30 seconds. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts on whether you think that's worthwhile or not. I go back and forth whether I think it's a good idea. I do the same thing as a Terran player. Sometimes I'll put down a supply depot real early and I'll halt construction on it. And you can always cancel that building later when they bring some probes or some Zerglings to attack it and get the investment back. Now, this is a pretty standard wall with that small opening blocked by the Zealot. It's great to funnel Zerglings if they're trying to do a run by, and then the Zealot can clean it up pretty well. Zealot versus Zergling really favors the Zealot in small numbers. Of course, Huck is going to get out a sentry as well, and you can use that to force field the ramp and keep the Zerg at bay for a long, long time. Now, let's take a look at what Idra's doing. Looks like he's got a layer going, which is a good idea. Probably going for some Spire tech, and that's going to help him close this rush distance a little bit because the Mutalisk is such a fast unit. Allow him to do a little bit of harassment. And of course the metabolic boost for the Zerglings makes the fastest ground unit in the game, and that'll help him be everywhere on the map at once. Otherwise you just need great creep spread if you want your roaches and hydralisks to get anywhere. Now it looks like Huck's hiding a Stargate back here. Really like that maneuver. He'll probably catch Idra off guard just a little bit. The only anti-air that Idra has anywhere in his base are his 2 queens. And with just a little investment in either Void Rays or Phoenix early, you can do a lot of damage. And it looks like he's actually getting the Void Ray. He's got it rallied directly to Idra's expansion. I'm really interested to see what kind of damage he can do with this. And meanwhile, he's got plenty of sentries back home. He can use these to force field his ramp, keep the Zeg from flooding into his base. And he's taking his own expansion so he can catch up in resources. Now, it looks like Idra's not going to be very prepared for this. He's got the layer tech, but he does not have the spire. He's just got a roach warren. And that's not going to do anything for him when the Void Rays come into his base. And it looks like Idra's researching burrow, which isn't a bad idea. You can use burrowed units to block expansions, which is a great maneuver. And of course, roaches regenerate health very rapidly when they're burrowed. And later on, you can research tunneling claws, which allow the roaches to move while they're burrowed. It's great for sneaking under force fields or doing surprise attacks, or even retreating when you're outmatched. But what he really needs is something to deal with the Void Rays. And to do that, of course, he needs to know what's going on. And now, it looks like he's going to sacrifice an Overlord to scout Huck's base. And he does say the Stargate. We'll switch here to Idra's view here for a second. And it looks like he's got all the information he needs. He's going to have just a little bit of a jump start on this Void Ray attack. It's going to be commencing here in a second. Well, Huck doesn't really know what Idra's doing in his base. He hasn't scouted for quite some time. He has no idea what tech is in Idra's base. But he's going to find out soon as he assaults this expansion. It's going to cause a little bit of trouble for Idra, but should be able to handle this. It was kind of a weak micro there. Should have been able to save that Void Ray against Queen. Hurts a lot to lose a Void Ray to something like a Queen. But he's still doing pretty good damage here. He's got 4 kills. But now he's got to run away. He can't take that on with just 1 Void Ray. He's got the second one there, but now Idra's got quite a lot of Hydralisks. If he's careful, he can save that Void Ray, but he does exactly the wrong thing to do so. Oh, but Idra lets him get away. If he had stopped his Hydralisks, they might have taken a shot and taken out that Void Ray. You ought to get a free Overlord kill there. Nope, just loses a Void Ray. That's pretty poor micro in my opinion. He lost 2 Void Rays just with sloppy micro. And he's harassing this hatchery, which is a good move, but I don't like that he's placed his Void Rays here, right on the ramp. It's going to make them very vulnerable to these Hydralisks. And they're just going to get taken down. What a waste of 2 units. He's trying to assault this too with his Sentry and Zealots, but he's just way outmatched. Roaches and Hydralisks are going to hold that off quite easily. Idra needs to get a little bit better creep spread so you can get these Roaches and Hydralisks going. He's researching that +1 attack for both the Hydralisk and the Roach. And he's producing more Roaches and Hydralisks, of course. Now, back in Hook's base, looks like Idra running in a sacrificial Overlord to see what's going on, but he himself is researching +1 on the weapons for his ground units. And he made a Phoenix. Now, I'm wondering what he's going to be doing with that. Just 1 Phoenix, maybe running it around the map, do a little scouting, try and pick off Overlords. It's not a bad move. But meanwhile, Idra coming in with a pretty scary force here, but with some good force field by Huck. He won't be able to get in and do any damage. And he does catch some units with great force fields. Those units are just going to die a lonely death all by themselves. Now it's a bit of a shame that Idra never researched those tunneling claws. Force fields are kind of worthless against roaches with tunneling claws. They can just burrow and move underneath them, but if you didn't research it, I really think Idra's got the stronger force here. If he could just get into Huck's base. He wouldn't have to back out if he had tunneling claws on the roaches. He could just pop under those force fields, and I think he could take the game, but unfortunately, he didn't research that, and he's got to run home. And all is not lost. Certainly, retreating here is the best thing he can do, and he's got this third base up, which is great, and Huck is still just on the one expansion. Huck's been scouting the map. He does see, of course, that he's got the 3 expansions. But he hasn't been in his base in quite some time. He hasn't seen Idra's main base. He doesn't know what his tech is. He doesn't know what he's going for, but he has seen his main attacking army. He saw the +1, so it's probably safe to assume that he's going to be investing in Hydralisks and roaches, at least for a little bit now. But Idra going for the infestation pit. We're going to see hive tech in a little bit. Or we could just go for infestors right now, which is not a bad idea. You can use the fungal growth from the infestor to trap stalkers from blinking away, and then the roaches and hydralisks can kill them at their leisure. And then of course it could be taken up to broodlords or ultralisks. Though this is probably a pretty tricky map to be using ultralisks on. I don't see that happening. Idra being way too passive here. He's got a 50 supply advantage. Couldn't ask for a better position to be in right now. You should do something with it. As you can see, 178 versus 122. He should really be moving out now. He's afraid of this ramp. It's easy for Huck to protect with force fields and these units on the high ground. But what he doesn't seem to be realizing is that he can attack through this back door. If he takes out these rocks, he can march right in, or even do a 2-pronged attack. You can't have all your sentries and all your units on both fronts. Looks like Idra's just gonna kinda wait for Huck to catch up, and I think that's a bad move, allowing Huck to take a third. And really, once you're maxed as a Zerg, it's time to move out. You don't want to allow your opponent to catch up. If he attacks, well, he's up by this amount. He'll dominate, and if he doesn't, he can replenish his army quite quickly. That's one of the main advantages of playing Zerg, is that you can build a lot of units very quickly. I don't like that he's sitting back like this. With every passing minute, Huck's army gets larger and more scary. There's 4 Colossus now. Not much to deal with that.